there's been a lot of talk recently from talking heads on ESPN, in the media, both from right-wing media especially, who have agendas, who have narratives they want to push about certain players. Kyrie Irving is one of those players. So Kyrie Irving responded to criticism that he got after the Brooklyn Nets came down and said that he would not be rejoining the team for now, and that's their plan going into this season. So Kyrie Irving responded on IG Live. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
I had to stop running away from using my voice and using my platform to, speak on what's true and what's mine. Nobody's going to hijack my voice. Nobody's going to take the power away from me that I have for speaking on these things, and don't believe that I'm retiring. Don't believe that, I'm going to give up this game for a vaccine mandate or staying unvaccinated. Don't believe any of that shit, man. Like really be aware of what's being said before I even get a chance to be on the podium and speak for myself. You know what I'm saying? Like all these people saying all these things about what's going on with me, and it's just not true. Pay attention to what's going on out in the real world. People are losing their jobs to these mandates. People are having to make choices with their own lives, which I respect. And I don't want to sit here and play on people's emotions either. Just use logic. What would you do? If you felt uncomfortable going into the season when you were promised that you would have exemptions or that you didn't have to be forced to get the vaccine. This wasn't an issue before the season started. This wasn't something that I foresaw coming, where I prepared for it. And, I had a chance to strategize on what was going to be best for me and my family. I came into the season thinking that I was just going to be able to play ball, be able to use my talent to continue to, inspire, influence people in the right way. Like putting this on me is just like, why are you putting it on me? This is not part of, what's going on in conversations with scientists, physicians, and doctors. I'm just a hooper, right? Like I'm just a person who's being utilized as an example. For some odd reason, people love to have my name in the mix of just some BS. Like just hearing the way people speak with so much conviction about what I should be doing with my life and what, my teammates should be feeling about me. I had to stop running away from using my.
Okay. So Kyrie said a lot there. And honestly, I have one quick defense of Kyrie. And this is not defending his position on vaccines. This is defending the way that the media kind of portrays what he said and the way that the media kind of portrays what he is. So, and this is very more complex than it really seems on the front of it. The media, both right-wing, left-wing, sports media, all that, have kind of used Kyrie in a way to push their narrative. And from the get-go, even before Kyrie said anything, because he has since said, he wants to kind of stand up for something now. But even when he was just saying, I respect my privacy, I didn't get it, whatever, respect my privacy, people were using that as a kind of call to action for whatever they believe. And look, that's your right, just like it's Kyrie's right not to do whatever. But what I really took exception to, and the reason I have this very quick defense of Kyrie, is that there were people who were, before he had said anything, putting stuff in his mouth, putting words in his mouth, and putting out statements as if it was exactly what Kyrie said, even though he really didn't say much initially. And look, since then, he's obviously come out and said, more than that. But that's the note I really want to make. I really want to make that. And I think we have a propensity, whether it's sports media, whether it's political media, whether it's, just society at large, we have this immediate reaction to things where we automatically assume someone's words, someone's intentions before we really hear from them. And that's something that, I have serious political, sports convictions, all that kind of stuff, right? But you have to be at least willing to, hear where that next person stands, or at least at the very least, not put straight up words in his mouth. There were people who are out there on networks like ESPN who were putting words in Kyrie's mouth about what he believes, about what his teammates believe, about all that kind of stuff before that any of that stuff came out, before he had even said anything. And also, there were people on the right who were anti-vaxxers, who were all that kind of stuff, saying that Kyrie Irving was one of them, and he is an amazing role model for them, and look at this, and they were using him to defend their own narrative, and he was kind of caught up in this battle of narratives. And look, when you do that, when you force someone who has that influence or whatever, or even who doesn't have that influence, into a box like that, when the media forces someone to basically choose between two sides, that's the path you lead them down, even if that's not what they initially intended to do. So I understand in sports media, we have to talk about speculation. We have to talk about the impact that this has on the team. Because look, let's not kid ourselves. Kyrie Irving not playing, we have to talk about it because it impacts the best team in the NBA, arguably the best team in the NBA, who many thought were going to be title contenders. It impacts them greatly. But the manner in which we talk about Kyrie's beliefs, I think, should not have been in the way that a lot of people at ESPN, Fox Sports, Fox News, all these different places said, because they really, I do think they put him in a box in a way. But let me address some of the things that Kyrie said in that IG Live, and why, now that he has said these things, why they are what they are. So Kyrie said that, put yourself in my shoes, right? Put yourself in my shoes, that, someone's making you do this even though you don't want to do this. And while that is an appealing sentiment, while that is an understandable sentiment to an extent, Kyrie Irving is basically in that saying, hey, put yourself in my shoes, but let me make the choice instead of you. Because the whole point of the whole putting yourself in my shoes kind of argument is to see the perspective, right? And what decision would you make in my shoes, right? But Kyrie is coming from the assumption of you're making the same decision as him. So obviously, if you're making the same decision as him, you're going to be mad about it because you're probably making it for the same reasons. But that doesn't help you see the perspective. That it kind of misses the point there. And that's honestly what I had a problem with. I don't think it's a strong argument. And Kyrie Irving, the other thing that I want to say is that, he wants to say that, it's wrong, right? He wants to say that it's not wrong, it's a belief. And look, a lot of things are subjective, but based on all scientific facts and logic, and Kyrie said this, right? Kyrie says that you got to use logic to dictate this. Well, if you use logic and you use facts, then Kyrie's stance on the COVID vaccine is, at this time especially, is wrong. Because look, 5 years from now, when COVID is just, we're living with COVID and we have the immunity or all those kinds of things, it is obviously not going to be as serious as it is now. Who knows? A year from now, it's probably not going to be as serious as it is now. A year from now, you could be playing without the vaccine, all that kind of stuff. Doesn't matter. But right now, we are at a point where we are still dealing with it. We are still dealing with the reality, the seriousness of this deadly virus. So we need to be real about it and understand that part of it too. Because while things might be good in a year, things might be better in 5 years, right now is still a critical time. So if you are coming from the perspective of Kyrie Irving, then I would just implore you to use logic and really understand and facts and see that. And look, the other thing is, I don't think he can't say it's wrong because, we don't exactly know why. Like here's the thing. I don't know what Kyrie Irving's motivations are, honestly, as weird as it sounds. Even after hearing his IG Live, I'm still kind of confused. And since he's put it all out there, I'm even more confused. Because originally it was, I need to do research. Well and good, cool, do your research, bro. Come to your conclusion. And he does the research. Then he says, respect my privacy, cool. Then it became a thing of, he wants to be an advocate and uplift the voices for people, which I am all for, uplifting the voice of the voiceless and all that kind of stuff. But when you say that you want to have influence for people and you want to stand up for people who are in this situation, you also have to have reasons for that, and those reasons have to be defendable. And then once you come around and you say you're already being an advocate, and you come around and you say, oh well, this is a personal stance for me and my family, then you're muddying the waters, and people don't know what your motivations are. So that's also why I think the media kind of forced Kyrie's hand in this. They kind of forced him to become more of a symbol than he probably wanted to be, than he probably should be, and that's kind of why, in hand for all this, I think the media are in their narrative and the way they spin things are very much to blame for all of this happening, and the way they talk about it, the amount of times they talk about it. So that's what I think about that, and I want to be very careful. That's why I'm kind of slowing things down sometimes. I might be slipping over a word or two here. I want to be very careful the way I talk about this, because it is more complex than it seems. Kyrie Irving, and this is not an opinion, it's a fact. Given the time that we're in, given the stance that he took, he did the research and he came to honestly the wrong conclusion. And there's a lot of people who say, well, there's no wrong conclusion when it comes to this. No, there are. The right conclusion, if you are worried about playing, if you're worried about, living a healthy life and all that kind of stuff, would be to get a shot that defends you against a deadly virus that's going around. The wrong conclusion would be not to. That is fact. The right conclusion, and look, I'm not going to comment. There's a lot of people who want to say stuff about Kyrie and what he's done before, and the flat earth stuff. And look, do I think that stuff is kooky? Of course, but that doesn't really necessarily have much to do with this, in my opinion. I think that I think that he's wrong for not taking the vaccine, and if he wants to live with the consequences and not play, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But what I criticize Kyrie for specifically is that it just seems like his reason every time he's asked seems to change every single time, and in my opinion, those reasons aren't good. In conclusion, his conclusion wasn't good. But again, the media is to blame as well for this, in my opinion. Thanks for watching this video from Real Take Sports Talk. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Also, remember to check out our live show every single Thursday at 8 p.m. right here on the YouTube channel. And remember, keep it real.